Women made history by graduating from the Army's Ranger School. Captain Kristen Greast and also First Lieutenant Shay Haver carried heavy weapons and gear during marches in the North Georgia mountains and swamps in Florida. And while both completed the Ranger course, they cannot join infantry, armor, and special forces units, including the 75th Ranger Regiment. The Pentagon will make its recommendations about women in the combat roles sometime next year. And it is an honor to have the Maryland National Guard made history. Here she is right here this year by appointing the first woman, an African-American, to be the boss of the Maryland National Guard. Here she is, Major General Singh. It's an honor for us to have you here tonight, Major General. General, tell us about the challenges you faced when you first got in.
Well, first, let me just start off by saying congratulations to our first female Rangers that just finished up their training, as well as all the Rangers that just finished their training, because that is a huge, huge deal.
How'd you feel when you heard the news?
I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and I was very, very happy for them.
Do you want them to be in combat?
I think that with the way that we serve today, we find ourselves in roles that, while it might not be in a combat unit, we do find ourselves in combat. So if I look at some of the women that I have here in the Maryland Guard, they've actually served with Ranger units because when we go into places like Afghanistan, where, and especially in the beginning, when men were not allowed to talk to the women, we needed to have women soldiers, right? We needed to have women on the ground with them. So to say that, you know, they're not in combat is kind of a misnomer when in some cases they're out there serving. They just may not be in combat units.
General, tell us about you coming up through the ranks and getting to General. I mean, how was it for you?
Well, I mean, when I think of when I started in basic training, it had not been too long since they had had full integration of women in the military. So if that gives you any kind of indication, it was still fairly new. It was within at least the first decade. And then, you know, as things has progressed, I think it's changed enormously. I mean, right after I had gotten my commission, or right when I was getting my commission, they had just allowed women to go through the service academies. So that was not even open at the time to women. And then soon after that, they allowed women to be able to fly in combat roles. So, you know, we're seeing a huge change, but it's taken a while since we've been able to get here. And I think what's happening is that, you know, these two female Rangers, and I want to make sure that people understand is they are Rangers, even though they're not going to be serving in combat. They're Rangers, are really helping us to move the agenda forward. And I think that, you know, we're just trying to make sure that everyone has the ability to serve and has the opportunity to serve in the roles that they are passionate about.
How do you think the Pentagon's going to rule on this next year?
I think ultimately we're not going to have a choice. I think that it's going to be the service members that are going to move us forward. And so you know, from my perspective, I think that we need to be there. There's a number of other countries that have already made these decisions. So, you know, we just have to look at, you know, what's the right thing? How do we do it? How do we do it in a manner that we can support our service members? And I think that's the most important thing, is making sure that we can support them in the various aspects. But I think that this is going to be a thing of the past another decade from now.
I've heard you speak. You're wonderful out there. You inspire. You get women to think about a life in the military. Give us a little sense of that right now, just in the last couple of seconds that we have here. Give us that inspirational talk again.
Absolutely. I mean, for me personally and for other women out there, I tell you, and I have two daughters, and I tell them they can do anything they want. And if the military is your passion, because it is my passion after serving this number of years, I really think that they should give it their all. If you want to be a Ranger, you need to go for it and not let anyone discourage you from that, because I think what you will find at the end of the day, we're not doing this because we're saying we want to be the first women. We're doing this because we're very passionate about wanting to serve. And that, to me, is the most important thing.
What's it like to be a role model?
I think for me right now, that's all I want to be able to do, is to really be a role model for other women, for other service members. It's not, you know, I don't want to think to make it seem like I'm just serving as a role model for women. It's really serving as a leader so that others can follow. And that is probably the most important thing for me, is to making sure that I am being a very transparent leader. I'm actually being someone that, you know, individuals can follow, even the young kids. I want to be able to reach out to them and say, this is what you can do, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background. I think if you have the passion, you can really set your future.
Very good. Thank you for your
Thank you
service,
so much.
General Singh, right there. That was great.